In order to tackle public health challenges, we need to collaborate. But that kind of collaboration does not just happen by itself. We need skills in process design. We need to know how to design these kind of processes in order to reach our objective in interprofessional collaboration. And in this little lecture, we will talk about the key competences regarding process design.
And we are Martin Westin and Alexander Hellqvist, and we work at the Faculty of Education here at Uppsala University. And we have a rather diverse and long background related to collaborative processes in different ways. We have been working as researchers looking into collaborative processes, but we have also both designed and facilitated collaborative processes, both in Sweden and abroad. And just to start by unpacking a little bit what we mean by this process design. And in short, we mean some sort of logical chain of activities, methods and interactions that you plan for beforehand, before going into collaboration. Because we see that really you can't really expect a collaborative processes around a complex issue, for instance a public health problem, to just happen by itself by just applying a completely open-ended mode when going into a meeting with different actors. So it's needed that someone plans ahead. And although it's a cliche, we have found that there is a lot of truth in the saying that the more prepared you are, the easier it becomes to be flexible throughout the process.
A common problem with collaborative processes is that you use the same methods and approaches independently on where this collaboration takes place. We think that this needs to be changed, and we think that there's a lot of merit in looking more carefully at the context where collaborative processes take place. And we have been unpacking this a little bit into the idea of a context constituted by actors, the ones that will collaborate, and institutions, rules and regulation, norms and values, which can both be informal and formal. We have developed a little tool which we call a context analysis tool that consists of a number of questions that one can ask in order to learn more about the context. These questions are related to the actors that will collaborate. It's about who they are, what kind of capacities and power that they bring into the process. And another set of questions related to the institutions. And these questions are both about the formal institutions, the norms, regulations, laws that govern the particular public health challenge that will be tackled in a collaborative process, but also about the more informal institutions which are constituted by culture and taking for granted things that people just do. We think that understanding the context better will enable us to do a better process design that is tailored to the particular circumstances that sets the conditions for this collaboration.
Another thing to keep in mind and think through beforehand is of course the issue of objectives. And perhaps the usual way to think about objectives is to think of the results or the impacts that you want to see in society from your collaboration, of course. And of course that's very important to think through, and it might be difficult to know beforehand what the objective should be when you're working with a diverse group of actors from different professions, but of course you need some idea of that. We believe that it's useful to make a distinction between these kinds of objectives related to the results and impacts of the process, and we call them outcome objectives, what you want to see in society in terms of change on the one hand, and on the other hand process objectives. And process objectives defines qualities that you would like to see in the collaborative process in itself. For instance, you might want to see that everybody can participate on equal terms and get an opportunity to speak their mind and so on. And we believe that these kinds of process objectives are as important or even more important in some cases than the outcome objectives if you want to have successful collaboration.
So when you have learned more about the context and when you have discussed the objectives and made some agreements on what you like to achieve with the process, then comes the issue about design choices. And design choices are often done unconsciously, a little bit intuitive, based on an autopilot mode. But we think it's good to actually pay attention to these choices that we make, because these choices are the ones that make or break a collaborative process. We have unpacked this into 4 questions. Who will be in charge of the process design? That question is concerned with whom will be the one that will make choices regarding the design. Could be one person who are a process designer, skilled process designer. Could be a joint responsibility in a group, or it could be like a shared responsibility between a number of persons. So there are different alternatives that are more or less suitable to a particular context. What is the purpose of the process? Alex has touched upon this question. I think the key issue here is to decide how much should we grasp over, and what is the common interest of the group. And based on those kind of discussions, we can decide what the purpose is with this particular process. The third question is about who will be engaged. And this is the question about the stakeholders, the professionals, the actors, organizations, and people who will be involved in the collaborative process. And here, this is a really key issue when it comes to process design, because here you make exclusion. You decide who will be part of the process and who will not be part of the process. And the common problem is that you involve the usual suspects. You do not reach out to people who see things differently, who have less power, or are living a little bit outside maybe the formal system or the things that we are doing in our everyday life. So we need to reach out a little bit further often. This is one of the choices that we make in collaborative processes. The fourth choice is about how do we enable collaborative processes, collaboration. And here the focus is on methods, which are the most suitable methods to reach our objectives. But it's also focused on facilitation techniques. How will we allow and enable communicative processes and learning processes in the group? It might also be about more physical and material things, which are the materials that we will be using in the collaborative processes. Computers, pens, papers, other things. But it's also about how the room is used. I mean, how do we set the chairs and tables? This might be small issues sometimes, but it also sets conditions and are important for the outcome and the process of collaboration. So with that, we have been going through this what we consider to be a key competence when it comes to collaboration, namely process design. Mm-hmm. And we have said that some of the things that are included are the ability to understand the context, the ability to decide objectives, and the ability to make choices. So these are the things that we've been trying to communicate in this lecture.
Thank you very much for watching.